Hey friends, thank you for joining me today. My name's Dan, same as was yesterday. And this is Daily Art Adventure number 660. That's right? Let me go check. Yeah. Number 660. Finishing touches. So I've been out here painting for about an hour and I wasn't sure that I really had anything worth sharing with you. This is, as the title says, they're just finishing up final details on this 6x6 foot streetscape. I did the companion to this painting last week. It's same street looking the other direction. Pardon me. But I decided here that I do have something possibly worth sharing. You know, one of the greatest challenges in painting, art of all kinds, and people ask the question all the time, and it is a very good, there's no easy answer. How do you know you're finished, right? And that leads to all kinds of jokes, you know. My favorite, or at least my most oft repeated, is how many people does it take to do a painting, right? Two, one to paint, one to shoot them before they think they're done. The besetting sin of almost all serious painters is knowing when to quit, and left to our own devices, pretty much most of us will take it too far. So I want to address that, even as I hope here that I am modeling one of the solutions to that problem. First of all, the real answer, there is an answer to that question in my opinion. When is a painting finished? And the answer is when it sells. And I know it sounds like a joke, but it's actually true, because if I have a painting that's been hanging in a gallery for 6, 8, 10 months, and that painting comes back to me unsold, much of the time, at least for the last 15 years, that painting is fair game, especially if I haven't varnished it, which most of the time I haven't. If I have varnished, then I have to add the additional step of taking the varnish off and so forth. But I've never bothered doing that ever yet. I could, but I've never done it. So the answer, when is a painting finished? The answer is when it sells. But that's not really very helpful, and that's not what I want to talk about. 6 months ago, I announced to my wife and my friends and to you guys, whoever was listening, I announced that I was turning a corner in my painting career. I said I want to do larger paintings. That part's easy and easy to describe. Larger means larger. And in addition to that, I want to do paintings that I really take time to get them right. So not only things like perspective and drawing issues, I really do want to get those things right. So that means spending more time on them. Certainly then, most people, like my wife and everybody else, if you say you're going to start taking more time on your paintings, your mind automatically goes to, oh, you're going to get more detailed and more realistic, right? Because more time means more detail and more realism. and that I had to scratch my head because I knew that was not true, but I had to scratch my head, so to speak, and try to figure out a way to describe, for non-artists in particular, why more time in a painting does not equal, did you catch that? Let me see from your way, yeah, go. Does not equal more realism or more detail, okay? Now, it would mean more realism and more detail if all the extra time that you were spending on a painting was spent doing realism, what I often call similitude, accuracy, drawing, correctness. So if in fact all that extra time went in one direction, I can make this direction, realism, then the more time you spend on a painting, then the more detailed and more realistic that painting will become. Correct? Now you probably, many of you, you're already understanding where I'm going with this. It's like, oh, right. So all the extra time that I'm spending on these paintings, and this is what I decided to go ahead and broadcast, it is not all headed toward realism and detail. A whole bunch of it is in fact headed the other direction. Sorry, I lost you for a minute there, didn't I? I don't know if you saw me make those marks. The other direction is abstraction. All right. And as I said, I've been painting out here. So let me zoom in for a second. The stroke I happen to be doing right this minute is in fact a drawing or a representational stroke. Sort of. Because this building, as you can see, has all these metal bars, white lines going up and down. And so I just drew, albeit in an abstract color, sky blue, which is not really very realistic at all. So that mark right there, that was headed in the realism, that was drawing, that was accuracy. But the great majority of what I've been doing out here for the last hour, and will continue to do, is going the other direction. I'm actually painting abstract. Now, that in my case, that means the abstract means two things. One, it means I'm literally painting these abstract strokes and streaks and marks that you see all through this painting. If you're not familiar with my work, this is a fairly new invention, if you will. Right now, by the way, I'm doing a little bit of realism again. Sort of. Adding to the abstract could mean that I'm emphasizing these abstract marks, which is true. But if that was a pretty careful mark, if I leave it at that, that's still that's painting an abstract mark in a realistic way. You with me? But I'm not going to leave that mark that I just did. I'm going to stick my finger. And now what I'm doing right now is messing up, just as I did over here, messing up the marks that I just put down on the painting. So a lot of what I'm doing, most of what I've been doing here for the last hour, has in fact been accentuating the abstract elements, not the realistic elements. Therefore, so the reason most of us absolutely must stop painting before we think we're finished, or if you paint as I do, in layers and layers and layers. That was a nice mark right there. If you paint in layers, you must stop each layer before you think it's finished. Now, if you're a beginning painter, I hope you're listening to me right now. Let's say you paint in stages. Stage 1, it doesn't matter if they're my stages or just your own. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're done. If you stay on stage 1 until you feel like, there, I'm done, I guarantee it, you have overdone it. You need to ride the brakes, stop early. Finish stage 1 before you think you're finished. Go to stage 2, stop that before you feel like you're finished. Stage 3, because if you, this is universal, I think, human impulse. There are very, 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 very few people, artists, that don't fit this description. If you paint until you think you're finished, you are overdoing it. You are being too fussy, too realistic, too detailed. In fact, I really slipped into that yesterday with some of this sky. I've touched it a little bit. I'm going to leave it. It is what it is. It's okay. I mean, it's a beautiful sky, even with those abstract marks in it. But as I went to bed, as my head hit my pillow last night, I was thinking, you know what? I did it. And I really covered up the beautiful pink underpainting. All right, spring, hope springs eternal. I says to myself, says I, with my next painting, I will not make that mistake. So there you go. Do I ever make mistakes? Absolutely. Well, of course. So you see me doing here what I'm doing. Like that was just a pure abstract mark. I just made that blue stroke right there. Has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Now, if I don't like it, of course, I have the right to pick up a rag and modify it. I very rarely do I eliminate it, try to erase it completely. But in fact, I do like that mark, so that one's going to stay there. Yesterday, actually the day before yesterday, I think I coined this term. I might have used it before. I'm calling it Sargentizing a painting. It's a reference to John Singer Sargent, one of my historical painting heroes. He was a fantastic, especially in the realm of portraiture, really, which is where I began developing this thought pattern that you can do a portrait, I can do a portrait, but it's too tight because I'm just not as good as John Singer Sargent. Poor me, huh? You probably aren't either, you know, right? The concept is to Sargentize a painting, means to come back after it's all done and just add mess to it, just add looseness to it. And that's pretty good description of what I've been doing here. Not entirely. Every once in a while, like right here, I'm doing a mark that is representational, like that right there. It's a hint of, you can't see it, it's too small, but a hint of reflection on a rear windshield of a car. Likewise, that mark right there, a little bit of reflection on a car, a little bit of reflection on a windshield. But most of what I've been doing like that, and let me zoom in here just for a second. So I just made this mark right here, put the brush down and dragged it up here. But I've got a red, green, and a green abstract. So that last one just a little bit too much. I'm not angry with it. I'm not going to wipe it out, but I am going to push it back. I like that little spot of color, which could be construed as representational reflection on the edge of that car. It could be, but the vapor trail off it is definitely not representation at all. Does that make sense? So, as I said, as I was painting, I felt like, nah, that's a lesson, if you will. That's a lesson worth sharing. And I'm going to do just a little bit more of that, and then I think I'm going to finish this painting actually doing the opposite of what I'm talking about. I'm going to, I think, at least I'm going to try. The sky that I painted yesterday is all dry, so I can experiment on it with generally with impunity, without punishment. I can experiment on it. Because I think I want to turn that slightly more orange, again, to unify all of these are all very warm colors here, and it's a little bit too cool right there, so I'm going to play with that. Part of the painting that I'm particularly happy with is the tops of those buildings up there. I think that's lovely. I also like the top of this strange sculpture thing. Again, you see this stroke? It goes right there. I made a mark there, then I took a rag and with great vigor smeared it. And I like the way that looks like. It's a brushed aluminum or stainless, probably stainless steel, I don't know which. Catching the sun, I like that. There are a lot of areas of the painting. Down here in this corner, I didn't talk about it in this painting very much. But I've done a trick that I do now not infrequently, and that especially when I'm doing streetscapes, where it would be quite unrealistic to have, and unpleasant in my opinion, to have this whole street empty, nothing but asphalt from here to here. So there's a car here to break that up. And of course I'm breaking it up with values too, but there's a car here, but the car is so close to the viewer that it would draw way too much attention to itself if I painted it so to speak in a normal way, the way I have these cars, for instance. So I've employed this trick again, where I paint it what I call in camouflage. It's a very, well, I should say, I guess maybe not very, it's quite accurately drawn. Okay, not I didn't bust a gasket drawing it, but it's quite accurately drawn. Because I want it accurate, but at the same time the coloring is pushed way back. There's a mixture of all different colors, but all the colors in it pretty much are the same colors that are in the background. So it's like a chameleon. It recedes visually into the scene. It accomplishes what I want. Your eye goes down there and says, yep, there's a car, but it doesn't stay there because it's not extremely energetic. Like say this car is the highest energy, followed by this one only because of the taillights and so forth. And then they, of course, begin to fade back. But I hadn't mentioned that on this painting, but that's a trick that I'm finding quite helpful. All right, I think I'm done. Again, so the main lesson I want to say is, how do you know when a painting's finished? It's finished before you think it is, and you always have to stop before you think you're done. There's a slight exception to that rule, which I'm talking about here. That is, if you linger on a painting, as I have been doing here this morning, as long as your lingering is mostly, as I was standing here, not in the realism direction, that would be dangerous. That means overworked, but in a loose direction, then you can actually keep painting. To use my new language, if you're Sargentizing, that is John Singer's Sargentizing a painting, you can do that for quite a while without, I still don't, it's still not, you can't do it forever, of course. There's still a danger of overdoing everything, but you can linger on a painting quite a bit more if you're going against realism. That, I've never said that before. I think that's a good summary description. All right, now I'm going to take several minutes to mix up some color. I'll tell you what I'm doing. Titanium white, a little bit of Naples yellow, a little bit of phthalo blue, a little bit of, are you enjoying this? A little bit of Indian yellow, that really shifted it, and then orange. Now, if you were following me there, I went more than halfway around the color wheel. I went orange, yellow, yellow, blue, white. So that by definition, that means I should have some kind of, if you will, dirty gray or dirty brown on my brushes, which is accurate, which is correct. That is indeed what I have. But if I've mixed, and I don't know that this is the right color, but if it is the right color, then when I put it on the sky here, and I'm going to scumbo here, I'm not going to plaster. I do want this pale bluish green that's already on the canvas to show through. So I was going to say, let me zoom in here so you can see it, and forgive me, let me move my camera first. Evidently yesterday I still did my bad thing of leaving a painting zoomed in. Sorry about that. So even though I described this color that's on my brushes, I described it as a brownish gray. When I put it on this painting, it comes out as a sweet little pinkish. Let me stand back now and see if that's a color I like. Yes, pretty much, but I can add a little bit more yellow, so Indian yellow, and a little bit more white to it. I want it slightly lighter and slightly yellower. Let's see how that looks. And of course, if I change my mind, I can pick up a rag and paint with a rag and wipe off as much of this as I want, because everything underneath it is dry. That's the pleasure of non-alla prima painting. Alla prima means all at once. And much of my painting, most of my painting over the last 15 years has been alla prima. Richard Schmid's book is titled Everything I Know About Alla Prima, something like that. And there are definitely some advantages to painting alla prima all at once, because you're painting wet in wet, so you're more likely to get delightful abstract soups of color that you don't get when you're painting, as I am now, wet on dry. So beginners, people in the first half of their art journey where they're struggling to paint stuff that look like stuff, those people in the first half of their art journey tend to prefer non-alla prima because it's messy and they're trying to paint realism, and so the messiness irritates them. As you proceed, as some of you will and some of you won't, but as you proceed to second half of art journey where you're no longer so exclusively focused, I'm going to leave that just the way it is for a minute, but I'm going to pick up even more yellow, Indian yellow in this case, and more titanium white. And no, I'm going to pick up some more orange too. So I'm diminishing the blue that's in this mixture and getting a little bit redder and oranger. I want to see. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go. Whew, glad I did this. So what I'm doing right now, you understand, is dangerous. Why? Because I'm painting realism, so to speak. I'm increasing the similitude, the realism of the painting. And that is what is so easy to overdo, to get carried away. Because you get fussy, fastidious. You overdo it. That's so easy to do. Now I'm hoping that, again, because of I'm going to go ahead and make some messy marks. Blending, softening edges. So that I'm not painting all realism. Okay, let me back up and look at that. Yeah, a little hesitance there. Yeah. I like it. I think it's a little bit, perhaps a little bit too uniform. So, I'm going to paint with a rag now. So I'm going to remove some of what I just put on there in the last several minutes, so that there's a little bit more variety in the cloud bank, if you will. Also, a rag is a great way to paint messy, to get away from over tightness. Now let me stand back. So now there's a smudge right in here that's back to the, close to the original bluish green. Yeah, and that's better. Still a slight hesitancy. I think I want more of that. I want that blue-green to go all the way across. This is going to be a short broadcast here today. I think that's good. I'm going to actually take a clean finger and drag some of that color onto this building, creating a much softer edge right there. I've got a dark mark right here. There we go. There we go. Another one right there. So those last two marks that I made were counter. Oh, I don't like these dark marks here either. Why didn't I notice those earlier? There we go. Many of the marks I'm making right now are against realism. So again, probably a little bit safer. Are you overdoing it if the marks that you're making are in fact messy marks? And it's less likely that you're in grave danger of overdoing it because you're actually messing up the painting, which is what I'm doing right now. So I'm really adding atmospheric perspective and softening a lot of this. That tree could go lighter right there. Do the same thing. I'm liking this effect of adding atmospheric perspective to this whole building, softening the little bits of it that are dark, and some of the dark is pencil. Take my glasses off for a minute. Oh yeah, that looks good. This side of this edge of this building is too dark orange. I'm lightening that a little bit. Now I'm doing a little bit of realism, right? So dangerous. I don't know if you could see if you saw that mark or not. Pick up a little bit titanium. I think I'm going to make one of these windows. That one right there. There we go. Yeah. Ah, that's too much. Too much of a good thing. So let me push it back just a little bit. I do like it, just a little bit too much. There we go. All right. I think I'm finished. Hey, let me take you off your stand here and just give you a little bit of a, perhaps a better angle tour, but then, of course, then we still struggle with reflection and so on. So hang on, let me move you around a little bit. Reflection. Some of the reflection that you see is coming, there we go, is from a windshield in a car behind me. Anyway, there's a part, oh, I'm sorry, and now you're a shadow with my hand. There's a part of the painting, a particular fonda. There's the focal point, the epicenter of the painting. I did spend considerable time yesterday messing it up, and then more time again this morning messing it up, and then just in the last few minutes you saw me messing up, warming up the sky and messing up those edges. Happy with that. I like these cars down here. They achieve, I think, to a large extent the feel that I'm after. Accurately drawn. And here's the car in the corner that I was talking about earlier, is camouflaged. Very carefully, quite carefully drawn, but in very muted colors so it doesn't jump. One of the last things I did with the painting is add a whole bunch of people, many of whom are so abstract you're not really sure if it's a person or not, and that's perfect for me. But I'm thinking 1, 2, I don't know, maybe a child. I'll count it this time. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe, yeah, 9, 10, maybe those are, there's one, 11. There's one there. Oh, hang on, I'm gonna adjust him just a little bit. A little bit of definition. I don't know what number I'm at, but there's a person. Maybe that's a person. There's, looks like there could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people there. I'm not sure, or maybe just 2. There. Now these are definitely people. Anyway, I was fairly happy with how that looked. I'm quite happy with I think with the top of the painting, how the strong abstract marks are interesting and beautiful, and as we come down into the painting, they diminish somewhat. I like that. I guess that's all I need to show you. I'm happy with my street generally, the abstract marks that are here in the street and also in the tree. This strong red stroke was a last-minute decision that was done this morning. So I will call myself officially done with this painting. Whoops, sorry about the earthquake ride. Sorry about that, folks. What that actually means is I am, of course, free to look at the painting over the next couple of days and do any final tweaks if I so. I'm hoping this is my final tweak, but of course I'll be looking at it and I am very likely to notice a few things. So where it goes from here is I've got the edges hopefully adequately painted. I think so. I will paint the top and the bottom. The canvas is about 1 3/4 inches thick, you know, the stretcher bars. I'll paint the top and the bottom in acrylic to match the painting, as if the painting goes over the top and over the bottom. That really is not as hard as you might think. And I'll put a wire on it. Oh, and I have to sign it yet. And I'll have this one finished. Yahoo! Look forward to starting another one as soon as possible. Let me look at you guys' comments. I appreciate you making some chats while I'm here. Hello, Uncle 60. Oh, that would be great to put them both together. If nothing else, I will post this on my community, YouTube community column, so you'll see a decent image. I've already got the other one is there, so you can put them side by side. Hello, Travis Lloyd. Long time. You've been sneaking around, haven't you? Thank you. Thank you for speaking up and making yourself heard. Love your work, sir. Your pearls of wisdom are second to none. What a blessing you are. Thank you very much, Travis. I appreciate that immensely. And Uncle 60, I love painting large canvases, but I find it harder to sell to homeowners. Yeah, exactly. You tell me about it. I'm having a hard time too. I mean, I'm still optimistic, but yeah, I'm selling here to corporations mostly. I like the idea. I could have believe me, I have enough paintings around to have a big show. And that's one of the options. Not my lawn, we're not in the right neighborhood, but yeah, cover up Sky Curse, yeah. I certainly did that. I was like, can't believe it. I was even talking about not doing it yesterday. When I started the final layer, I started in the sky and I started too tight. And man, once you start too tight, it's hard to back up. So yeah, it's a beautiful sky, but it doesn't have as much of the pink showing through as it should, almost none. Uncle, so I talk too much, I'm going to watch. All the rest of you are welcome to talk the way Uncle 60 talks. No problem. Hey, Jake, messy in close up, but works well at a distance. It's exactly, that is one of the highest compliments you can pay my paintings, is that they look realistic from a distance, and when you get up close, they're like, what? It's just all a mess. That's because that indicates good abstraction. Okay, I just saw something I want to modify. See, here we go. When is a painting finished? When it sells. This abstract mark stroke right here, it has a slight pink cast to it, and I think it would work even better if I made it a lighter pink. Am I on screen? Yeah, I am. Yeah. I'm going to mess it up here a little bit. Good. This is the first time in the whole painting, by the way, right here, right this minute. It's the first time I've held a brush in this manner. Some of you, that should be a lesson to you. I will hold the brush in this manner when I sign the painting. And I could have done that without holding it, but it just dawned on me. Literally, that is the first time, I believe, that I've held the brush in that manner. Yeah, that was nice. I like that. So the danger is I could go on like this for hours and ruin the painting. That is true. So I will resist the temptation. Thanks for watching. I don't know if I'll broadcast again today. Depends what I'm doing. I'm not going to start another big painting, but I might do another Anatomy Masters, which I enjoy very much. All right, thank you so much. There is a new PayPal donate button. If you're on a computer, it's real obvious across the banner. If you're on a phone, it's not so obvious. You have to go to my About Dan Nelson page, and there's a link there. Sorry about that. But if you want to make a donation for my